there are irritants in the lab that I've been dealing with for weeks now. Been talking about it with the landlord. Things are going to happen very fast. So this is the straight poop and scoop. Fran Lab is infested with mold. Happened over the wintertime. Very creepily. It's very hard to detect, but it just sort of took over everything. Pretty much like all the furniture is affected. I don't know if all the furniture and fixtures are going to have to be discarded or if they can be, dealt with, but pretty much everything that's made out of bare wood is affected, which is a lot. I have a lot of bare wood shelving and a lot of pine constructions that I built just out of necessity to put the lab together in the office. Like support decks and stuff for the shelving, but I have a lot of antique furniture too, and all of it is affected. And this wasn't very obvious at all because it's all on the underside of stuff. But it got into everything: my closets, my clothing, it's so hard to talk about, but it's like in everything. So I've had to wrap all my furniture in plastic. I'm just kind of waiting for remediation to happen. And what's going to happen to my record albums, my books, things like that, they can't say. I mean, I had a company come in, talk with the experts and everything, and it's just question marks about how they're even going to do this. I mean, the guy brought in, he's been doing this for like 30 years, and he was just going through the lab. He's like, oh, this is just, I don't know how we're going to do this. I mean, tests were done, airborne tests, contact test stuff. Good news, bad news. Good news is none of it is toxic. That was the good news. Bad news is that it's all destructive. So it's something that even after remediation, like even if it's like taken out of the furniture and stuff, I'm still gonna have to be dealing with it forever because it's just literally in everything. So like all the bins, all the parts, I don't want to throw out my record albums. I don't want to throw out my books. But if I keep them, I'm going to be dealing with, recurrences forever. It's just, it's just very aggressive. The landlord's been very gracious about this. They said they're going to handle, they will work with me with this. So I don't know what we're going to do. The professionals tell me, and I spent hours talking with the professional, the remediation guy. And, the typical way that they do this when they deal with a problem like this is that everything in the site gets crated up, packed up in trucks, and moved to a remediation facility, like a warehouse, a special place where they do this. And then everything gets cataloged, inventoried, and every item gets remediated, and then gets put into clean crates and everything, and then it gets stored, waiting for the space to be remediated, and then everything goes back. It's typically how they do that. But in this case, it was like, oh, I don't know how, He said to remediate this, it would cost an absolute fortune. And he rolled off a number off the top of his head that I don't think that Fran Lab is worth. There were a lot of zeros on that number. And the time period, because I happen to know, just for myself, moving all this stuff, it takes about 4 months for me to move. So, I mean, that's a non-remediation move. Plus, I wouldn't, everything would have to be moved out. I mean, I wouldn't be coming back here because this place would be remediated, and I'd probably move into a different place. So I don't know what's going to happen. Few things are going to be for certain. One is that Fran Lab will be shut down for a period of time. I don't know what that period of time is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to come back here or if it's going to be done like in sections here and we're just going to stay here, or if we're going to be moving to a different place in this building or to another building. I don't know. Don't have answers. In fact, even the professionals don't have answers. It's one of the things we're going to have to work out with the landlord this week. How are we going to do this? But the weird thing about this is that I have such strict control over over the air quality here. I got a HEPA filter, a special HEPA filter set up in the window there. It's a positive pressure system where it can take some outside air, scrubs it, takes all the air pollution out. And so it's super clean air when I want fresh air. I've got these Austin super military HEPA machines. I got 4 of them, one in every room, running 24/7. In fact, when the remediation guy came in, he saw the Austin machines. He, oh wow, that's an Austin. That's the best air filtration machine in the world. I said, I know, I've got 4 of them. So even with that, and I've got humidistats, I've got AQI meters. I monitor the air quality, humidity. I'm a stickler for keeping this stuff in good health. All the antiques and everything. I have UV curtains on the windows to keep the harsh ultraviolet out, so I can get the sunlight without the ultraviolet. I took all these steps, and still, I got overtaken with mold. It was one of the things. Even the remediation guy was like, this is pre-existing, and this, is something that was present before you came in here. It's a weird situation because the building was purchased last year, so the new owners aren't responsible for this. Apparently this goes back even before I moved in. This goes back to probably even before the previous owners owned it, because the previous owners didn't own it that long. So this goes back to damage that happened maybe like 2 building owners ago that was never dealt with. And the working hypothesis is that the only reason that it happened with me is because I've been in here for 5 years. It's in the flooring and stuff, from stuff that happened maybe 10 years ago that wasn't dealt with 2 owners ago. And it just because I've been here this long, it just took that long for it to build up. That's the current hypothesis. But I'll give you an example. Like I got this 19th century, it's like late 19th, early 20th century stool that I have in my closet, my changing room, and it from looking at it, the stool's totally fine. But like everything in the whole shop, I only started discovering it when I just started going around everywhere with a mirror and a flashlight, looking underneath. And underneath of the stool, this is what it looks like. Just this deposit here in the joint, just growing in the joint between the leg and the stool. And underneath of my antique chairs, these chairs are from the 1950s, and they're plywood, but on the top side, totally normal. On the underside, it was just, there it is. There's the growth growing. And underneath all of the desks and workstations, this is inside the underside of the desk. There it is. There's a big deposit, big colony. Inside the desk, not on the top, not where it can be seen, but inside. On these shelves, these are the shelves that are right across from me. You can see, the top side of the shelves, there's nothing there, but on the underside, that white misty stuff there is just, there it is. It's growing on the underside, invisible. So it wasn't until I got around, and even my Space Attack machine, you could only see this deposit because it has this speckle paint, but you could only see this if you used a bright flashlight on it, and you could see that this is a mold bloom growing like right on the machine. So for a while, for weeks, I've been just flipping out with like, this is a total loss. Everything's gonna have to go in the dumpster. I don't know if that's true. Again, you would assume that there's techniques to remediate things that they put they use a gas or something, they fumigate it and everything. But the remediation guy was like, it's really a primitive process. There really is no magic way to deal with. He said stuff that's not porous, plastic, metal, all that stuff is easily taken care of. But all the stuff made of wood, all my books, journals, records, everything made of paper, and I would say FranLab is like 50% paper. All the boxes, everything, there's no way to deal with it. All the furniture, The wooden furniture, I don't know. I mean, some of it's going to have to be discarded. I've had to wrap it all in plastic, all, where I could find it. The Space Attack is wrapped in plastic. It's so sad. It's just so sad, It is what it is. So that's the bad news. And yeah, it's question marks. Not sure how we're going to deal with this, but I've been trying for weeks to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm not really sure. I mean, there are some backup plans. I mean, the wood shop, I already talked with Scott over the wood shop. I could move operations over to the wood shop to do, continue doing content during the process of cleaning this place, however long that would be. I might be in a temporary location, but I mean, one of the problems is that all my gear, like my computers, are also affected. It's like, so I can't just like take my computers because, like, I was just dealing with the laptop here. The fans are running. Well, the fans are running because they got to be cooled, and all the computers I have, they're filled with this same stuff. So you can't remediate the computer. So I'm just going to be moving the problem. But it's such a shame. I mean, it's just like all the electronics and stuff, all the equipment, everything that I've ran. Well, that's the thing about this issue, is that it's not going to ever go away. Even if I get this place remediated, even if I move to a different location, it's going to come with me because all the parts bins, hundreds of thousands of items, from individual resistors to capacitors to wiring, and all my personal effects, CDs, DVDs, bins and bins and bins of stuff. All the musical equipment, my guitars are also affected. There's mold spots inside my White Falcon. And I've already talked to some luthiers in town about, dealing with that, and they were all stumped. They had like you could see the dice spinning in their eyeballs. We've never had to deal with that before. I don't know how we would deal with that. So, it's like I need experts to remediate the vinyl, experts to remediate all the musical equipment. But I have a feeling it's just going to be one of these permanent situations. It's like herpes. Basically, FranLab has herpes. Once you get it, you've always got it. And all you can ever do is just deal with the flare-ups. But you're going to be living with the disease. And that's kind of what I think this is with FranLab. It's just going to be a part of FranLab forever. And it's probably going to be a part of my life forever. That sucks. So there you go. What I'm asking is, I'm asking for patrons. This goes out to the patrons to hang in there with me while I deal with this. I might not be making content for periods of time. I don't know where I'm going to reside. I don't know where I'm going to do production. I don't know if I've got to get new equipment. Because I use 3 computers for FranLab right now, and I don't know if they're all going to have to be replaced. I don't know if things like cables and monitors, and I don't know what we're going to do. But I'm asking for patience while I deal with it. Because it might take some time. I don't know how this is going to pan out or where we're going to end up. But dealing with it, going to be dealing with it for a while. Maybe forever. So I'm asking for patience. And thank you. So yeah, everyone's going to have all kinds of solutions. No, I am not going to be doing anything. This is going to be handled professionally. I'm not going to muck around with it. This is going to be for the professionals who are going to come in. There just isn't an idea of really what the solution's going to be, because this is a very complicated situation. It's not like I've just got a furnished apartment. That would be an easy fix. No, this shop is a different situation altogether. Ozone generators, no, you do not want to be running ozone around anything that you value. I've done videos on this. Ozone is terribly destructive. Ozone instantaneously starts destroying anything made of rubber or neoprene, lots of plastics. It is a very aggressive, reactive gas. If you have antiques and you decide to get an ozone generator, you have doomed your precious things. You will destroy it all with ozone. I've done videos on this. Now I've got ozone meters to make sure that that there isn't concentrations of ozone, particularly when it gets smoggy outside. I have to, watch that. But yeah, ozone and ultraviolet are things that you do not want around things that you value, including yourself, because ozone is terrible for the human body as well. Why does it seem like one battle after another for Fran? Well, Fran has an interesting life, and when you live in interesting times, it's always something. It's always something. But honestly, here's the thing about this. I would have never known about the mold. I would have never known about it hadn't I accidentally discovered it underneath a table. I had these little wooden pine sort of fold-up TV tray tables. I had a whole set of them. I used them everywhere because they were the right size. They were, about 18 by 14 inches, and they would, fold up. They're, you know what they look like. They're kind of ubiquitous in home supply stores. But I just said I have like 4 of them, and I had them all over. I had one over there, a computer on one. I had one here by the camera station that I used to put all the newspapers on and stuff. It was right here. And it was a day when I was setting up to do the live casts like a month ago. And I noticed underneath of these 2 little tables was these little like blobs of powder on the floor, because the floor it's a faux wood floor. It's like a vinyl faux wood floor. You can kind of, I don't know, see it, but it's just sort of like a vinyl covered wood floor. That's pseudo hardwood. I thought it was the popcorn ceiling, because we have this sort of popcorn kind of pseudo asbestos ceiling. And I thought it was little bits had come down from people banging upstairs or something. I kind of ignored it, but then after I was moving the tables around, there was like more of it, and that's when I saw there was on the underside of these tables this white stuff, and that was like, and then I just kind of looked. I probably Googled white stuff under wooden table, and it just was like blah. It was like bing, 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 bing. Highly contagious molds like to grow. Oh my God! And so I grabbed a flashlight and a mirror and just went over the whole shop, and it was frickin' everywhere. But it's odorless. So, but it happened so fast. It was just, because clearly there are things that are affected that, I know it wasn't there a month ago, 2 months ago. So it just happened so fast. And over the wintertime, when it was so dry, I mean, we're talking 10-15% humidity pretty much all winter. That's how crazy this stuff is. It's just crazy, crazy. So, high humidity, poor ventilation, or trapped moisture. Yeah, none of the above. Positive pressure system, humidity control. No, none of the above. That's what I'm saying. Can't happen here. And yet. So yeah, I am perplexed. In the lab. That's where I work. In the lab. Go berserk. In my lab. That's where I work. knows what you're watching. Friend love, it's what I'm doing. Working at the bench again.